Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Million Dollar Media. I'm your host Max Kellerhalls, and with me today we have.
Adrian.
Mhm. And today we are going to be talking about Kung Fu Panda 4. Yeah. like, how do we start this? Um,
We have a lot of thoughts.
we do. I guess we could just give like a quick little plot synopsis. Evil villain Chameleon is looking to take
The
over.
chameleon.
Huh?
The chameleon.
Okay, my bad. The Chameleon is wanting to take over China. How original. And she has the
Ooh.
ability to shapeshift into anyone, really. So Poe and this little fox girl go on this journey to this, like, pretty much like the Hong Kong of this
Yeah.
universe.
The
Or not Hong Kong,
cat
or like,
long city, whatever.
yeah, I forgot the name of the city, but it's basically like a parallel to like modern day like Chinese cities. And yeah, I guess that's really it. Oh, and Poe
It's
is
sad to say,
Poe is wanting is uh
looking for a
looking
successor.
for looking for a successor, even though he doesn't really want to.
Yeah.
And yeah, um,
It's sad to say that that's it for a Kung Fu Panda film.
it really is. Um, Yeah, I guess from the tone of my voice, you can kind of tell we didn't really like. I didn't really like this, and I'm gonna assume Adrian didn't either.
I, as a standalone movie, I enjoyed it, but knowing it's a series, it disappointed.
Oh yeah, this is the worst Kung Fu Panda film. God,
Didn't live up to the hype.
no, not at all.
It
Like, yeah,
wasn't needed, as most people said.
yeah,
It's nice that it's there, but we don't appreciate it
yeah. Like
as much.
this movie is a cash grab through and through. In that, like, only a handful of the various voice actors come back from the original movies. The writing feels more oriented towards children than like families. The animation seems a bit off, in my opinion, and the writing especially. Like it's just it really feels like whoever wrote this film was like, okay, what is like the basics of Kung Fu Panda, and that's it. Like I,
Yeah,
the thing I didn't like, the moment I was like, oh no, this movie doesn't get it at all, is Poe specifically says at one point, I am the Kung Fu Panda. And that really took me out because I was just like, I don't think he was,
that's your.
I don't think he's ever gone by that moniker.
No, he's never called himself that.
uh-huh.
And, like in another scene, he says, "Oh, the son of Ping and Lee." Like
hmm
no one really cares about those two fathers.
hmm Let's just get our
Yeah, let's talk about
positives.
the good things right now.
I
Let's talk about
have
the good.
three things. Jack Black, as always, he's really good. Like, he
Yeah,
makes this movie tolerable and fun,
yeah,
and he really brings it every time. Like, however bad the movie may be, Jack Black will always
yeah.
like
He
put
finds
his
a way to
all
be
of
the
his.
selling point and does a good job.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that. Um, my second thing is I like that in a big budget family film and a franchise like this is okay with saying that Poe has two dads.
Like before, like mainly DreamWorks has never really pushed that,
Mm-hmm.
like those monikers of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They just let those two dads stay,
Mm-hmm.
and because of how well written the past film was,
Mm-hmm.
it's just there, and we accept it, and we're happy about it.
Yeah, it's
It just works.
like in the previous film, they kind of like were teetering on the idea of like, oh, let's push the idea of like Poe having two dads, but not in a relationship kind of way. But in this film, they kind of full send it in just like, all right, we're these two act like a couple, specifically a gay couple. Like they got like the top and the bottom kind of scenario here. Literally, one of them's a bear. So it's I I thought that was kind of nice, especially like like again a family film that they're okay with like showing like people
Oh,
with different
yeah,
kinds of families, especially since like Poe is also like an adoptee as well.
yeah. You have two dads and an adopted son.
Hmm.
It's just really,
An
really
adopted
nice to
son
see. And
from
the dynamic is
China.
really, yeah. And the dynamic between all three of them is very good. It's very fun to see.
And yeah, you're right. James Hong and Bryan Cranston do a really good job, like portraying that. I mean, James Hong is good in everything that he's in. The third thing I liked in the film was there's this one background side character that's not in the film that much. The Pelican, like that.
Pelican slash fish.
Yes, everything around that character made me laugh so hard in the theater.
Yeah.
Like it was just genius. Like how
Yeah,
they.
keep in mind, everyone, that we saw this in theaters together.
Yeah,
So
yeah, this was really funny. Like I don't think other people in the theater found it as funny as I did, but like the idea of like this pelican being piloted around by the fish inside its mouth and it's basically a boat captain made me really laugh because I just thought it was so
yeah, just
brilliant.
the introduction scene. The first thing you see the pelican fish combo,
Hmm.
you hear them talk, but the
Hmm.
pelican's mouth doesn't move. So
Yeah.
like, what's going on?
Like
Like
it's
you see little movements, like, but it's full sentences.
yeah,
And then in the next few seconds, you see the fish just come out and just start talking.
and it's holding out a knife and everything like that. That was so funny. And like the little detail I like is that you constantly see the pelican drink. He's drinking water,
Yeah,
but you're like, oh, he's drinking because he's a fish.
yeah. There's a scene where the pelican was drinking, while also the fish was drinking at
Yeah,
the same time.
yeah.
So
Like everything around it was that character was so funny. Even who they got to play it, Ronnie Chin.
uh-huh.
Like he is so funny. Like he's just a really funny actor, and I feel like him as this pirate captain. He doesn't play like a stereotypical pirate. He does sound more like Ronnie Chin, and
Yeah.
but it was just so funny. Like I was like, I want more of this character because clearly whoever thought up this idea really was inspired by something. And yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like all the creativity in the film went there.
Well, on that note, we're gonna talk about the
Yeah,
dislikes now?
yeah. Or
Yeah.
however long we
Well,
do this.
actually, I have one small positive from my end.
Hmm.
It's very small. It's just the tiny bits of funny moments that just make us laugh. That have
Oh
nothing
yeah.
to do with the story at all, but they're just funny to see and hear. The dialogue, the scene themselves, like they're really like 2 3 second clips,
Hmm.
but they're really funny. They get you to laugh,
Hmm.
and that just makes the movie a bit more tolerable.
Yeah.
It's not super forced comedy. It just works with everything that's going around.
Exactly.
So I'd give that as a positive.
No, that's very fair. Like there's a lot. There's I
Like for
don't know.
example, the fish, yeah, and then you have like the thieves' lair. You got some funny stuff. You got the bunnies and
Here's my thing. They were
some
funny,
funny
but I feel like I
dialogue.
saw them in the trailer.
Yeah, we did see them in trailer, but nevertheless, it when people saw the trailer, caught them off guard, made them laugh,
Hmm.
made people in the theater laugh.
Hmm.
So like a lot of those quick quips that they had, dude, were really good, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. Um. All right. Ready to rip into this thing?
Yep. Where do we start?
This story
Or should we?
overall is just very. It feels like an AI wrote a Kung Fu Panda film based off like the previous three movies because the villain is just an amalgamation, power set wise and
Yeah,
story wise, of all
the
the previous
three.
villains. Primarily
Yeah,
the second and third villain.
yeah.
Yeah, like she has
Wants to
the
take over China.
yeah like
Steals
ch-
iron.
yep like Chen.
Steals the and then steals the skills of other masters
Mm-hmm.
in the spirit realm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just
and then also has a vendetta because of previous things of like not being able to get certain kung fu abilities, aka Tai Lung.
Yeah, yeah, not getting recognized
Yeah.
as at all,
Uh huh.
and just being denied their destiny.
Mm-hmm.
How long? There you go, all
Yeah.
three.
All three.
Boom.
All three.
It sucks that it was bad, but like, come on. You've gone through all these before, and you
Yeah.
don't even have a heartfelt like backstory or anything to connect the audience with.
I think the only thing that really sells it and makes it totally their own and original is that Viola Davis is playing her. And Viola Davis brings it all in everything she does as well. It's just that I feel like there was just like
She
little.
did. She did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Just wasn't handed the greatest script.
Yeah, exactly. And that seems to be the case with a lot of things recently.
Yeah.
um, and it feels like a waste of Viola Davis, in my opinion. If you've ever seen like the Suicide Squad, you know she could be terrifying as like Amanda Waller, so you know she could be a good villain. And in this, there's shades of that, but other than that, like her story is just so repetitive to so many other characters, as we said, that it just like,
Yeah, not even just characters, just movies in general.
oh yeah,
You can
exactly, yeah.
tell the same thing. So it was hard to connect to the story at that point
Mm-hmm.
when you learn the motive.
I guess the other thing that I like is about her. The other thing I do like is I appreciate the subtle detail of when she shapeshifts into other
Yeah, animation
characters.
wise, yeah, all
That
that.
that looked really cool, and the design of her shapeshifty things are also done in a really cool way. They're the silhouette and overall color scheme of the character she's trying to portray, but they're done in a scaly pattern like a chameleon would. So like
Mhm.
fur turns into like spikes. I just thought that was a really cool like distinguishing of the two. Like,
Yeah, even though you see that in like the first trailer
mm-hmm,
sometimes, but seeing it with the other characters as well, it
mm-hmm,
just really, really looks nice.
mm-hmm. But yeah, other than that, like, yeah, just not a really good villain. And again, even the name is also not
The
that original.
chameleon.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, think
Here's
about
it.
it.
You got Tai Lung,
You get
Shen, and General Kai, and then you go to
the
the chameleon.
chameleon, which is already a name of a character in another popular franchise.
Like, come on, man.
Like, yeah, it just. Ugh. I think going on like character wise, I was not a huge fan of the what's the name of the fox?
Zen or something like that.
Aquafina.
Yeah, Aquafina, because we'll get into why we're just saying Aquafina.
Yeah, I mean, just the character overall, I thought was sweet, but really shoehorned.
Yeah, when you're first introduced to her, she's supposed to be somewhat of an antagonist,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't really feel that
No,
in this movie.
not at all. Yeah,
It just seems like another character. Of course, like, yeah, great line, like, oh, we just got introduced. Is she good or is she bad? She's a thief.
exactly.
Like, introduced as a thief. So you're instantly gonna think bad, but then her intentions seem good. But then
Mm-hmm.
she's bad, and then she's good. And like, oh my gosh, it is the most bland way of doing it too.
I think even the idea of her being a fox that's a thief is also not original. I mean, just
No,
go
it is not.
go to
Like,
Zootopia.
yeah, like the stereotype that foxes are bad, they're
Mm-hmm.
sly and all that. Like,
Mm-hmm. Sly
it's
Cooper.
the
Oh yeah,
same.
Disney raccoon.
Utopia,
Mm-hmm.
like Robin Hood.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like, oh my gosh. With the Robin Hood. I didn't even see that movie. It's
Yeah,
the fox that came into my head, and it's the same thing.
we'll get into spoilers about like why I also think that's not she's not the best, but I'll say this: Aquafina, um, I'm very mixed on her as an actress, cause and especially like a voice actor, cause she basically just plays Aquafina in everything that she does.
Yeah. Like, was it Ryan the Last Dragon?
Ryan the Last Dragon was the one that broke me. as
Yeah,
like
you said that one.
there's Raya, there's Scuttle from the recent Little Mermaid. Um, I think she's in that other Illumination film, Migration, and then I heard that she was going to be cast in that, and then I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, so she's just another Aquafina character.
Yeah.
um, Ironically, I prefer her whenever she does like live action stuff better,
Yeah.
because then she can
Because
actually show her range.
yeah, I mean the only live action movie I've seen her in is Shang-Chi.
Mhm.
And I can clearly tell the difference of her live action and animated voice acting.
I mean, I've seen her in Crazy
Oh
Rich
wait, no, never
Asians.
mind. Bad Guys. I've watched Bad Guys.
Even then,
It's not that good.
she's also in a really good like Oscar-worthy movie called The Farewell. That's a really sweet like family centered movie that's a little bit like heavy on drama, and she really brings both the comedy and the drama in that film.
Hmm.
But this is just like, hey Aquafina, play yourself and do your shticko, just having like your voice get really like high pitched in a weird, scraggly way.
Yeah, we're not gonna give you much character. Just be yourself. We won't.
Exactly.
We won't test your range or any way possible.
Mm-hmm. Like, and I don't know if that's her fault because the script
I
is just
wouldn't say
that
it
bad.
is.
I just
It's
think,
because people like the way she acts and stuff like that energy.
mm-hmm,
And people want to keep it because it gets attention. But
mm-hmm,
you're just wringing it dry now.
yeah, I, yeah. I mean, this is not me shitting on Aquafina again. I do think she's a
No,
good
she's a
actress.
good. It's just the writing sometimes.
I'm just kind of
It's not the best for her character.
exactly. I'm just kind of sick of her animated roles. I guess you could say. For me,
Hmm.
she's kind of like how I feel about like Chris Pratt.
Oh God, don't get me started on that.
In that, like, maybe not like
Like it's tough to distinguish. Like people will say, "Oh, what about Jack Black? He basically just plays the same kind of goofy s character. He does it well though.
yeah,
He has that charisma that just stands out compared to all the others.
like Poe and Bowser have the same Jack Black isms, but two very different characters. It's like this Venn diagram of like, okay, there's certain like lingo that Jack Black says and uses for both characters of Poe and Bowser, but you will never say that they're the same like character.
Yeah, yeah, he's
Whereas
able to distinguish it.
if I were to
But
compare this character to like Ryan the Last Dragon, there's more in common than there's anything that's like
yeah, the only thing that differentiates them is the plot of the movie.
exactly. And yeah, maybe we should get into that.
Yeah, I think we've done enough about on the acting.
Yeah, and I don't like to shit on actors, but I think we're more shitting on characters than actors here.
Yeah,
So
which will go into writing, which we will now talk
yeah,
about.
I just think this is the biggest cash grab I have seen in a long time. Like maybe that or Madam Web, but this feels more like egregious to me than Madam Web, because with Madam
Yeah,
Web, it's
because it's
like
a sequel, not a standalone.
yeah, Madam Web is like a character no one knows, and it's just a way to like keep the Spider-Man rights. This is a
Mhm.
franchise, like a known, proven franchise. They portray a lot of characters and how they used to be, and like
Yeah,
arcs that they've gone on, just for the sake of, well, we're telling this story, so we want to do this. And
yeah.
yeah,
Let's see.
like
According to the internet, this is kind of unrelated, but we're probably going to tie in later. The budget for this movie was 85 million, which
mm,
is the lowest of all three.
that makes a lot of sense. Because like
You
again,
can
yeah,
see it.
I mean, I'll get an animation later, but I just
Yeah,
want to talk about story. But even then, like the budget comes into mind of like the Furious
actors
Five, like are not in this film at all. Maybe and no, like, they are at the end, and but
at
they
the very end, at the credits,
yeah, and they you don't get any of the voice
or
actors at all.
actually, they show up at the opening of the new noodle restaurant as life-size cutouts.
Yeah,
For fuck's Thanks.
Yeah. And I always have a problem whenever like a film says like, "Oh, hey, where are these characters? Oh, they're off doing this thing right now. They're not going to be able to be here at this moment." And
It's like, and then the story we follow is a lot more important than what they're dealing with.
exactly.
Where's Shifu? Not
He,
even he showed up.
he's not he's in the film, but he doesn't show up to help at all. His
Nope.
dad's come to save the day more than the Furious 5 do.
There are more of heroes in this story than people who are trained to be heroes.
Mm-hmm. Like there's just yeah, there's a bunch of like really not even hand waved like reasons for why characters have to go places. So like they make a point saying that like Poe needs this fox girl to get him to this city that he never heard of before. They make a point saying like not everybody knows where this is, and so that's why she's important. Like two scenes later, Poe's dads are like halfway there in the right direction and not knowing anything about where they're going.
It's just Deus Machina.
Not
Deus
even
Machina.
that. It's like in that sense, like the ex machina is like a device or like a thing that comes in at the last minute to like that explains how to defeat everything. This is just like, oh, we just need post dads to be here
Get there.
to get there. So how does he get? How do they get there? I don't know. They just
I don't
follow
know.
him. Like no one thought to like explain that.
Nope, not even for 10 seconds of the film.
Yeah,
You would need 10. You needed 5.
there's just also things like certain character things like I mean, you brought up that you like there's certain jokes in the film, but I feel like one of those jokes does kind of betray like the original intent of like the the second and third film of like inner peace in having
Yeah,
Poe have inner thoughts that
I didn't say post quips and lessons were my favorite.
yeah,
I never said that.
like showing like Master Shifu and Poe having like inner
These internal
dialogue
thoughts.
and like back and
Oh, yeah,
forth like
I brought this up after we watched it.
yeah, it's a great point though. I have to say, like they sacrifice character for jokes, and
Yeah, it's like that inner conflict with their minds when the second movie was all about inner peace.
and
You just throw it out the fucking window.
yeah, and it just felt so weird, and the whole plot overall of him having to give up the uh
The staff,
the
which was the
no, just
main item.
not the
Oh,
staff, but just the moniker of Dragon Warrior. One, I could see why that be the next step in his journey. That's not my problem. It's just how Poe reacts. Kind of
yeah.
also betrays the message of the first film, and that like
Hmm.
there is no secret ingredient, and like you don't need to be special in order to be special. So by him
Yeah,
clinging
man.
on to this thing, it
The title
feels
that doesn't really make him special.
yeah, and like I always got in the original film like when Poe is chosen, he's chosen on an accident pretty much, but not really an accident in that like
The universe.
yeah, it's like when he was chosen, it was more just a lesson for Poe and Shifu to be like, look, in order for something to be special, you need to see it as special. Even though there is no secret ingredient, it's just you.
Hmm.
And by having him like do all these like try to give up the Dragon Warrior status and him not doing like being reluctant to do it, it just feels like a betray of the themes and values of those first three films just for a story beat here. That and I think this also goes into our next big problem in that like this entire film was also built around the idea of like villains from Poe's past come back. So you like
Yeah, that
I
was
mean
the main selling point, to be honest.
like the big one was like Tai Lun is back. Um, they were going to bring back Shen and then General Kai, but really they bring back Tai Lun
Just for him to get nerfed.
to, just for him to get nerfed and just fan service for the other two. They don't have any lines.
They do nothing.
They don't do anything.
All they
And
do is get their skills stolen.
uh-huh. Yeah, that's it. Like they wasted that idea entirely. And
Like there's so much they could do.
like one of the things that we brought up, this is gonna best definitely be us like judging a movie for what it's not instead of what it is. But I still think it's important that we at least share ideas and like how they could have
Yeah,
done it because
yeah,
how they did do it just was again felt very cash grab and nostalgia bait. But I think we talked about this idea where it's just like, why don't you have like um, Tai Lung be a part of the main like trio? So you have like Poe, Tai Lung, and then Aquafina Fox Girl. And the whole point is just like, okay, the reason why the Furious Five aren't there is because they got their kung fu stolen. And then Tai Lung comes back, who doesn't know how to do kung fu anymore, but knows who this person is and how to defeat them. And also this Fox girl who can tell them like how to get there and like it's just accompanies them along the way. That way you have three people, one who has to give up the Dragon Warrior status, someone who wanted it from like their entire life and afterlife, and then a third person who doesn't really care and just wants to have something like make a life of her own. That would have been a really cool like story to have. And then also it makes it more of a guessing game of who is Poe gonna give it to, because you can have like Tai Lung go on this character journey of like this villain who is resentful for not like getting what he wanted and feeling cheated out of everything in life, to by the end of the film like coming to terms with like everything, because all they do with him
there's
in
too
this
much
film is
potential.
just like, I am Tai Lung, nerfed, and then that's it. Another thing
That's
too
it.
in like this fans script that we have, or fan made film I guess we have, is you can have like the main crux and emotional like center is you kill off Shifu, and that's how both
Yeah.
Poe and Tai Lung
Well,
like
kind of going off what you said, like criticizing what isn't and what was.
mm-hmm.
I saw earlier today that there is a deleted scene, supposedly, I don't know if it's true or not, where Shifu is at the end scene and he has to say goodbye to Tai Lung walking back into the spirit realm.
Oh my god, like they cut that.
Yeah, that's what I saw and supposedly heard.
Oh, that's so
And it's the fact that that covers the things we were just talking about.
exactly. And like, because I think the biggest like thing that pissed me off and was just like, well, clearly you guys don't understand anything about the movies, is when Poe defeats the chameleon and gives everybody back their kung fu, all of his villains just like walk up to him like that, like they're about to fight, and then they just bow to him.
Yeah, and it doesn't like the past three movies, in order to defeat the villain, Poe had to gain something.
Mm-hmm.
This one he didn't feel like he gained anything.
Nothing. Like,
Not even Aquafina's character felt like she gained anything. All she did was, oh, I saw this one skill.
mm-hmm.
This is how we're gonna win.
Yeah, like that. It really felt like one hit and then done.
Yeah, for
It,
such a powerful character with the skills of many
everything.
masters
Exactly.
to go down like that.
Mm-hmm. And it felt. I remember
Like,
like when that happened in the theater. Like I had this really weird whiplash effect of like, that's it. Like, wait, that's
yeah,
it. All this that we built up to, and that's how it's done.
all this great fighting beforehand that seems kind of messy but really cool to look at, and
Mm-hmm.
it ends like this.
Yeah, I was just like, wow. I feel cheated.
Yeah,
Like,
I got blue balled.
the thing that also just made me like, that makes no sense. Why would that character bow? Like, it's Lord Shen.
Yeah, he hates
Makes
pandas.
no sense. Like,
He hates pandas.
he would never bow to anybody.
He would never, because in the second movie he never changed.
Exactly.
So why would this one instance where he saves his life
Mm-hmm.
he would bow?
Yeah, like
And second of all, would want to go back to the spirit realm.
Not, I don't buy that for a
He would not
second.
want to go back. He would not willingly go back.
Yeah, that made no sense.
He
Unless
would not willingly go back. None of them
none of them would.
actually
It makes
would willingly go back, maybe except Tai Lung.
maybe.
Yeah, it's a strong maybe.
You would have to imply a lot, like he's probably chilled out in the spirit world.
Yeah.
But even then, like, you gotta think, like, well, Kai didn't chill, and he was in there for a lot longer.
Yeah. Like what, 500, 5,000 years?
Yeah, he was just like,
And
I'm
he
cool.
was wanting to get out, and the one chance he just, oh, look, the gate's open. I can just walk out now. Or I've been summoned.
Yeah,
And just drops.
that just made me think, oh, okay, well, this makes a lot more sense. That just means that no one paid attention to the original films, and that they
Nope.
just they're like, we'll do this. Like,
Yep. And another thing I brought up last time we talked, Oogway. He's in the
yeah,
spirit realm.
yeah,
It wasn't even mentioned.
like,
Except for like, oh, Oogway chose wrong.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
It's the only time he's really brought up.
Like, hey,
Oh.
hey, chameleon, or the chameleon,
Yeah, one of the most powerful masters of all time.
and you decided
Just
to go
chilling
for
there.
all the people that Poe defeated.
And these other guys?
Yeah, and like that's the thing too, and it's just like it doesn't make his original villains all that special because then they also just go for like a bunch of like characters we have never seen before, unless they're in like the
The
TV
Netflix
shows. Or
TV,
yeah,
the TV show, which I don't recognize because I've seen tiny bit, very tiny.
exactly.
Like I don't recognize any of them.
Hmm.
And even if we did, like, oh, this cool Easter egg, no one watching the TV series and then going to this movie. So it would make no sense
Yeah,
to do it unless for Easter egg nostalgia purposes,
so, yeah, and it
which
just
is just a waste of time.
and even like the thing that bothered me too is like Poe's reaction to seeing his former villains.
It's like, oh, cool, oh.
It's like, oh, I gotta save him. I'm like, I'm sorry, but you have PTSD, or you had PTSD from one of those villains just by him showing you his feathers.
Yeah, one destroyed your panda village and gave you PTSD off his logo and tried to do it again. Almost just killed your friends in the second movie.
Mm-hmm.
In the third one, your villain comes to your supposedly home village, your hometown,
Or
and threatens
people.
to kill him.
Yeah. And like the best he does is like, oh, I have to save them. I'm like, there's like, especially in this film where it's like a more reluctant Poe and everything. That's the moment you don't want him to be reluctant in.
Like, I get it. It's that hero moment where I gotta save everyone. But come on.
But I'm like, just
Make it a
acknowledge.
bit more reasonable.
Like he's, I don't know. It just, and the reason why we're so harsh on this film overall is because like the first three are genuinely well written films.
Each one had a lesson to learn from them. And this one is like, eh,
Exactly.
it's
Like
here.
I'm not.
I learned that this movie existed.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
We're probably gonna talk about the Kung Fu Panda films, like in the next couple like days or weeks that we, uh, after we release this, just to give our thoughts on like the original. It'll be like quick minute reviews. But
Yeah.
um, I think the other thing I want to go into before we like really end this is I'm not a big fan of the animation in this film.
Yeah, this is all you.
Okay. For me, I feel like ever since uh, either the bad guys or Puss in Boots and the Last Wish, DreamWorks has decided to adopt this new style that I don't think fits for everything that they do. Like I felt like for Puss in Boots, the Last Wish, that was just like such an entertaining, fast-paced film that needed a new style to make it different. And it's also like the bad guys that needed its own unique style.
Yeah.
But Kung Fu Panda already has its own style, and like in the first three films, it's meant to look quote unquote realistic, with, but still have designs of like really cartoony characters. But what also helped is that they gave actual weight to these character designs and stuff. Like what made Poe so special is that he, like, they played into the fact that he is a big guy, and when he punches things or like bounces off things, there's a weight behind it, and that's what made him special, and that's what made you believe that, oh, okay, that's how they explain like this heavy set person can like fight like this, like. But in this film, no one has any weight, really.
Mhm. Like each one, like you only see specific fighting styles
Mm-hmm.
from Poe and Aquafina, like because
Yeah.
that's mainly who you see with specific styles. Which sucks with the chameleon. You only get a couple seconds of special moves
Mm-hmm.
and nothing with weight to the size of these characters.
Mm-hmm. Especially when it comes to the fight scenes and stuff. Like it looks like good choreography, but I feel like there's no weight behind the punches because no one's getting knocked out. Everybody's just getting thrown around. So like the punches aren't doing anything. They're just getting just placeholders for you to grab them and throw them off something, which kind of takes the
Yeah,
fun out of the fight because then it's just like, well, then punches don't mean anything. And
yeah, I mean the only scene in this one where I believe they can get away with it was the tavern fight.
I thought that
So,
was the only very creative fight scene in this film.
yeah, it was the most creative one, and you didn't really like things behind each punch. It's just a tavern scene. It's just meant to look entertaining, to
Mm-hmm.
look appealing. It doesn't really add much to the story, in which it did. It was very entertaining.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it had the
But that's
pelican.
it.
It had the pelican.
Yeah.
But yeah, and another thing that I pointed out to you was the color palette in this film is way off. Like, to me, like I've made a joke on previous reviews of how much I like technical things and like the color correction and the color temperature of films because I think it's a subtle thing that's very important that not a lot of people talk about, and that like when you mess with the color correction of a film, especially a film in a franchise of things, it can make it feel really off and so disconnected because in this film, like they use a lot brighter colors. So like the sky is a different color blue than it was in any of the original films. Um, the nighttime scenes are also lit very differently. The overall like texture on everything feels off. Like in the original films, you can like see like different hairs on Poe and hairs that are also like bunched up and clotted. Like that's the level of detail that was in those original films. And in this film, because they're going for this more like 2D cartoon style, which again, I have nothing wrong with 2D animation, but when you try to mix it with a style that worked in the past, it's not, it just bothers me in this film. And it also made me not like connect to any of the characters because there's this like weird uncanny valley where you know something's off when you look at it, but you
Yeah, and you
can't.
can clearly tell with this film.
Yeah, and you bringing up the budget, that just shows in that like, okay, well they can't really go all out because reasons. And yeah, again, cash grab. But yeah, I don't know. Because even there's also 2D sections in like the original trilogy of Kung Fu Panda movies. Like one of my favorite scenes from the second film is a mix of 3D and 2D transitioning between each
Mhm.
other,
Yeah.
and it's done very well. But in this, they just don't do any of that. I know a lot of people are like, but this is a kids' film. Like, why are you going so hard on it? I'm like, well, kids should also be respected as well. Like, respect the intelligence that they do have. It may not be a lot, but I think you should respect it in that, like, when they go back and watch these films, they can, like, look back and be like, oh man, I never understood that. Or I never got it like that. Like the original three.
Yeah.
But with this, like, I'm probably gonna forget about a lot in this film. Yeah, I just
Not a memorable villain, not a memorable second character, not a memorable plot. Oh, Jack Black's in it.
hmm I guess
That's all I'm gonna remember.
one other thing I liked is they have a cover of "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time"
Yep,
by
no Jack Black.
the
Yep.
Tenacious
Yeah,
D
it's an
cover.
HSD.
Like, it's a pretty good cover of "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time."
Yeah, it's great. And
Like,
it's the fact that one of the best things from the film came in the credits.
yeah, when the film was over. Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed they didn't have Seven Nation Army in this movie because they had it in the trailer and they had a really cool rendition with like the
Hmm.
war chant, like the war choir kind of sound, like the Chinese war choir kind of sound in the trailer. But but in this, not there. And I make a point for that because in the third movie, Kai has a really cool
His own
rendition
theme.
of "I'm So Sorry" by Imagine Dragons.
Like, they could have like done something close.
Yeah, like if you're gonna copy one thing that I guess you didn't do is like copy the fact that like you could give the villain a memorable theme.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just
I mean, I would jumble that in with the budget though.
that's true.
Yeah, I got to give him some slack. Budget just halted a lot of things they could have done.
I guess. I feel like something happened behind the scenes in production because this movie was announced at CinemaCon like a couple of years ago, and like they brought Jack Black out on stage, and he was really hyping up like what this film was going to be about, and like you
Yeah,
can tell like he whatever they came up with was something that like he was generally like really excited to be a part of. Like, oh, we're gonna bring back the villains. It's gonna be this really emotional story for Poe. And then when you get to this, it's just like
none of that
none of
delivered.
that happened. That's all I really got to say. It's gonna be a quicker review. Kind of a letdown. Like, this is probably the biggest disappointing film of the year, and we're only in March.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, I guess it's just sad. So,
it,
yeah,
it had potential, but we'll never know what really happened behind the scenes.
yeah.
Like what, or this is actually what they intended.
I guess for me is if you have kids, it's a totally fine film to take them to. There's nothing offensive or like a bad lesson that they're gonna learn from the film. Well, maybe. Well, actually, no. They do make a point by saying like, "Oh, we can not do violence now, so that we can do some
Oh
violence
yeah, that
later,"
whole bit.
or
Yeah,
like, "We could do
if
the
we
right
knew, if we
thing,
knew, yeah, if we do nice things now, we can do more violence later.
the right thing for the wrong reason."
No reason. So you say we do less pain now. We can do more pain later.
Yeah. All right. Maybe you should take your kids to this. You know what? Don't go see this, even if you have kids. Wait for something else. Take them to
Only
see.
only watch it for free.
Take them to Dune.
Is that more of a kids film?
No, but at least it's better. Yeah.
If they're going to see it, uh, for free, or unless you're already paying for Netflix, they'll be there
Yeah, it'll be on
eventually
Netflix eventually.
with ads.
Oh, that's
Fucking.
right. Yeah,
Anyway, it's not about that.
like, subscribe, and share. Adrian.
I got nothing much. Are pandas white and black or black and white?
All right. Well, thank you for listening. If you want to hear this video unedited, go follow us on Patreon for $5 a month. You can listen to all of our reviews unedited. They're very cursed and a lot of fun. We're also looking about doing some Patreon exclusive things in the month of April, so definitely don't take your kids to that. Um,
18 plus
18 plus.
rating. If you know, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, I hope you all had a good time and bye.
Bye bye.